Testing for Zoom. Commissioner Quesada, can you hear me?
Good evening, everyone. I call to order this May 14th, 2024 hybrid administrative meeting of the Board of County Commissioners to order. We have a quorum and Commissioner Quesada is joining us virtually. We will have a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, it will be led by Mr. Edward Mendez, Division Director of Benefits and Cemeteries with the New Mexico State Departments of Veteran Services. So please join me in a moment of silence first. Please come to the microphone. Please stand and join us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Mendez. Item 3, announcement of additions and changes. Madam County Manager, are there any changes or additions to the agenda?
Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, Commissioners, good evening. I have no additions or changes. Thank you.
Thank you. Any changes from the commissioners? Okay, seeing none, I move approval of the agenda.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Yes. Aye.
Oh, do we need to do a roll call vote, Madam Clerk, on everything?
All right, thank you.
Sorry. Okay. I have a statement. I offered the following statement regarding the closed litigation meeting that was held today, Tuesday, May 14th at 1:30 p.m. Only those items described on the published notice and agenda for the closed meeting held today, May 14th, 2024, were discussed at that meeting. I need a motion for approval of this statement, and it will become part of the minutes of this meeting.
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor by a roll call vote.
Commissioner Quesada.
Aye.
Is he present?
He said aye, really.
Okay, I couldn't hear him. Thank you. Commissioner Barboa.
Aye.
Commissioner Benson.
Aye.
Vice Chair Olivas.
Yes.
Chair Baca.
Aye.
So called. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a second statement. I move that the Bernalillo County Attorney and County Manager be authorized to proceed with the matters discussed in the closed meeting held on Tuesday, May 14th, 2024, within the parameters set by this commission to include possible litigation proceedings related to national prescription opiate litigation. I make that motion.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded by Commissioner Barboa. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Quesada.
Aye.
Commissioner Barboa.
Aye.
Commissioner Benson.
Aye.
Vice Chair Olivas.
Yes.
Madam Chair Baca.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. We move on to proclamations. Presentation by Commissioner Benson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And is Stephanie Gallegos here with CYFD? Would you mind coming up to the front, Ms. Gallegos? Thank you. Team Gallegos, thank you. Okay, we've got a proclamation regarding National Child Abuse Prevention Month, which is actually the blue on my pin today is representative of child abuse awareness. The Bernalillo County Board of Commissioners. Whereas every child is entitled to love and care in a safe and nurturing environment, free from abuse and neglect, with the support needed to help them grow and thrive. And whereas child abuse is considered to be one of our nation's most serious public health problems, and there's a link between the abuse and neglect of children and a wide range of medical, emotional, psychological, and behavioral disorders. And whereas child abuse can disrupt early brain development and serious chronic stress can impair the development of the nervous and immune system, with consequences that are likely to continue throughout adulthood. And whereas children are the foundation of a sustainable and prosperous society, and our prosperity as a country and nation is built on a foundation of healthy child development. And whereas all members of a community benefit from creating conditions that support strong and healthy families. Now therefore, be it resolved that the Bernalillo County Board of County Commissioners recognizes and proclaims the month of April as National Child Abuse Prevention Month, and urges all citizens to recognize this month by helping improve the quality of life for all children and families, done this 14th day of May, 2024, in Bernalillo County, state of New Mexico. Thank you very much. And by the way, yes, it is April that is Child Abuse Awareness Month, but our agenda was full last month, and so that's why we're doing it at this meeting. But please, if you have any words.
Yes, absolutely. Madam Chair and members of the Commission, good evening and thank you. We deeply appreciate the recognition and partnership extended by the County Commission. We were expecting to receive the proclamation for Foster Parent Appreciation Month, but absolutely Child Abuse Awareness Month is just as vital and just as important, and is something that we believe deeply in at CYFD and practice every day. We deeply appreciate the recognition and partnership extended. We also acknowledge that resource parents such as foster, adoptive, kinship, or respite foster care play a pivotal role in supporting children and families across New Mexico, and we acknowledge their invaluable contributions. And if you are, or if you know anyone who is interested in becoming a resource foster parent, please reach out to us. We absolutely are taking applications, and we do have a need throughout the state of New Mexico. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I have a proclamation for you. If you could come up to the dais.
Item B, also Commissioner Benson.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. And if Ms. Ann McKinney and New Mexico Child First and Marilyn Beck and team can come up. Thank you so much. And actually, with CYFD, if you're still here, I'll let you come down here as well, because I think I got these turned around. But they both go hand in hand, child abuse and foster care. But I'll read this for you guys up here, and I would love words from you as well afterwards. Whereas Bernalillo County recognizes that every child deserves a loving, permanent home, and that there are children in our communities who may not have a safe and stable placement with their family, or whose families may be experiencing great difficulty and hardship. And whereas foster families who open their homes and hearts to support children whose families are in crisis play a vital role in helping children and families heal and reconnect, and are unsung heroes who serve as the primary source of love, protection, and support to the children and youth in the foster care system. And whereas dedicated foster families frequently adopt foster children, resulting in a greater need for more foster families, especially those willing to take older children, children with special needs, and sibling groups. And whereas we are grateful for the many foster parents, kinship caregivers, family members, volunteers, mentors, child welfare professionals, and other community members throughout our community who open their hearts and homes to children and youth in the foster care system. Now therefore be it resolved that the Bernalillo County Board of Commissioners recognizes and proclaims the month of May as National Foster Care Month and encourages everyone to recognize and celebrate foster parents in their communities, and to consider participating in programs that care for some of the most vulnerable members of our society when they need it the most. Done this 14th day of May, 2024 in Bernalillo County, state of New Mexico. Thank you. And do you have any words, or Marilyn?
Thank you. My name is Marilyn Beck. I'm the founder and executive director of New Mexico Child First Network. I think this is our 5th or 6th year accepting this. Unfortunately, our state remains in a crisis. It's pretty significant. We have kids sleeping in the office every single night. And so foster care is hard. It is not something anyone ever wants to put their child into foster care. So I think the month of recognizing those foster parent, those providers, the resource families, but we do call them foster parents, and it is foster care month, and recognizing that there are children and young people impacted by the system every day, but the only way we will have positive outcomes is by supporting quality foster parents and quality providers or community providers. And so I just want to say thank you to Bernalillo County. It's also really important to acknowledge with the 5 of you sitting here and for your team, what you all are doing to invest in behavioral health, your commitment to the opioid addiction settlement fund. I just can't say enough. You are improving outcomes for these children, for our most vulnerable children and families. So the dream is someday get rid of foster care. It'll never happen. But with your commitment and your continued commitment to improving behavioral health, substance use, treatment, we can all make the world a better place for our kids. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And thank you all. Would you both please come up and receive this plaque?
Thank you all. In our final presentation, County Manager Julie Morgus-Baca has an important presentation.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, and Commissioners. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and let the New Mexico Department of Veterans Affairs come up and do a presentation for us. So thank you so much, and we sure appreciate you.
And likewise, Madam Chair, members of the board, thank you for the opportunity to come before you tonight. My name is Eric James. I'm the Deputy Cabinet Secretary for the New Mexico Department of Veterans Services. I'm joined today by Edward Mendez, Director of our Cemeteries Division, and Ray Siva, part of our Public Affairs outreach. And I also want you to envision the over 141,000 veterans that would be standing before you today, and the deepest appreciation for the county manager, and specifically Commissioner Barboa, for making the efforts for championing the cause for the rededication of the historic Fairview Cemetery. Over 300 grave sites refurbished and stones placed, the grounds renewed. And I don't want to embarrass you, but I was there on that day, and you told a story of being a child and living in the home which you still live in, and visiting that ceremony, and throughout the years seeing it fall into disrepair. And what it took was the county to come together for a champion, to be a catalyst for a cause. And we come together and we're able to renew and restore it to its proper dignity for our veterans and for our community. So in our deepest appreciation, we thank you for your efforts, and it's a wonderful job well done. And many of us now appreciate the opportunity to visit, as we will continue, and others like us will be able to appreciate what the county's given us. Thank you.
Thank you.
flag that we have here was dedicated during that ceremony. We did a rifle volley and a folding of this specific flag at that ceremony. So again, thank you very much for being here.
And the inscription reads to the County Commissioner Barboa, thank you for all your support for veterans across the state of New Mexico.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Olivas.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to say a couple words on this item. Appreciation to Commissioner Barboa for her leadership and for our county manager to renew Fairview. It was actually probably it wasn't an official act because I wasn't sworn in yet, but after the election, when I was elected to office in November of 2022, one of the first things we were invited to was the Fairview dedication ceremony. It was actually the groundbreaking ceremony, I guess it was, really starting the work. And Commissioner O'Malley and Commissioner Barboa invited us. Commissioner Baca was there with me as well. And it was just really beautiful to see that come full circle, and just so appreciative of Commissioner Barboa's leadership to make it happen, and our county manager to make that happen and show that respect to our veterans and to a very sacred, very beautiful place in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Barboa.
Thank you. Oh, I didn't, thank you so much. I wanted to make sure to thank you so much. This is an incredible honor for me. I come from a veteran family, military family as well. My both grandfathers on both sides of my family served. But also, I just want to really appreciate County Manager Julie Morcas-Baca. She was unwavering in her support for veterans and moving funding to make this happen. And you got to go see it now, because even from the time when breaking ground, it is an absolutely beautiful, incredible job. I was there walking through. I still walk the cemetery sometimes. It's so close to my home, and it's a beautiful place. But now with those improvements, it is not only honoring the most important, all those servicemen who fought for their lives, and the people that evening were talking about that there are, if anyone, please go check it out, Fairview Cemetery. It is, there are grave sites there from the 1800s, 1700s. I think the veterans were talking about from the Spanish-American War. There's some there. So it is a beautiful historic site. The Fairview Cemetery group Historic Society has done a great job of sort of mapping it out and plotting so that folks can come and enjoy the history. There's a whole section to the heroes that have been unidentified. And it just, not only is it a great honor, I'm honored to be able to honor our servicemen and our veterans, but also that it really does improve our community. I live in a community that often doesn't get a lot of nice things because we're constantly trying to catch up, right? But this really has made an improvement to our neighborhood, something that people can come and enjoy, and that is just beautiful and is outdoors and is an honorarium. So I am just honored, thankful. Thank you, County Manager, and all our staff that do the work to make sure that happens. Thank you to the veterans.
Thank you. Commissioner Barboa. Now we move on to public comment and communications. Each person will have 2 minutes, and you will be alerted about your remaining time. When your name is called, please make your way to the podium if you are speaking in person. Before making your statements, please state your name for the record, and to maintain order and decorum in the spirit of professionalism and respect for everyone present, speakers must adhere to the 2-minute time limit. Angela, please call the speakers.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Our first speaker, we'll start with in person, is Mr. Don Schrader, followed by Dr. Geraldo Cianello, followed by John Bolton.
Don Schrader. Military recruiters bait and con youth with posters, uniforms, travel, family pride, patriotic lies, medals, all to hide the bloody truth, becoming professional hired killers for U.S. greed. Military recruiters show no photos of soldiers coming home blind, missing arms or legs, suffering nightmares and PTSD, alcoholism because of soldier buddies blown to bloody bits, alcoholism because of murdering kids and old people. The U.S. and other nations hire military chaplains to convince their soldiers God wants them to murder people when their government tells them to. The U.S. spends more for wars than the next highest 9 nations combined. Napoleon said, "If my soldiers knew the truth and what they're fighting for, they would walk off the battlefield." Frederick the Great said, "If my soldiers were to begin to think, not one of them would remain in the army." Henry David Thoreau said, "It's impossible to give a soldier a good education without making him a deserter. His natural enemy is the government that drills him."
Thank you, Mr. Schrader.
Dr. Geraldo Cianello, followed by John Bolton, followed by Nancy Beers.
All right. Good evening, Madam Chair and County Commissioners, and thank you for serving Dr. Geraldo Cianello, Alternative Health Doctor and Minister. I'm a former chaplain, and I'm a family of military and veterans. Thank you for presenting that to our fellow people who are serving there. So a few weeks ago, Commissioner Levis spoke about Palestine-Israel crisis, and my spirit was troubled, offended by his statement. With due respect, we're all entitled to our opinion, and thank God for our U.S. Constitution so that we can all voice our First Amendment. That said, I have to agree to disagree with your view on Palestine-Israel crisis. Why? Because I have facts and friends there and have been in the Holy Land myself with my bride to celebrate our 25th wedding anniversary and interviewed few Israelis who are Jews and Muslims from Palestine. In one of the hotels we stayed, I asked 2 young ladies who worked there about the political crisis between Palestine and Israel. To my surprise, she said she's Muslim and turned to her right and introduced me to her coworker who was a Jew and said, and I quote, we get along and we love each other," end quote. Wow. And later that week in another hotel, I had a privilege to speak with a manager who's from Palestine. I asked why he's in Israel. You know what he said? Freedom and opportunity. Freedom and opportunity for his family in which he didn't have in Palestine, in which I can really relate to. Now, did you know 4 Filipinos killed in the October 7 Hamas attack? And Israel government promised lifetime aid to their bereaved families. They were there to work in agricultural land, not only to help feed Israel, but also feed Palestinian refugees. Israel is facilitating massive amounts of humanitarian assistance to Gaza, such as food, water, medicine, fuel, and shelter supplies. Also, do you know of any nation that would drop leaflets from an airplane to warn the Palestine? That idea of dropping leaflets into Rafah,
Thank you,
that's
Dr.
only alone,
Cianello.
that's Israel. Thank you.
John Bolton, followed by Nancy Beers, followed by Khadijah Bottom.
Madam Chair and members of the Commission, John Bolton. I'm the Director of East Central Ministries, and I live and work in the International District for the last 25 years. And I'm here just to say thank you, first and foremost, to all of the county, but Commissioner Barboa, Manager Baca, and just all the staff for working with us in the community and building on our strengths and organizing to look at some of the issues in our neighborhood and try to come up with new solutions from grassroots up. So we're focused on housing and food access and working hard to make that a reality from our perspective. So for the county to work with us with the capital outlay money. You guys are buying 704 Wyoming and Alvarado Acoma property to be eventually turned over to a community land trust so we can work on incremental development of housing and house our neighbors instead of displace them. You're also purchasing 317 Wyoming, which is ARPA money. We helped work with the county real estate. They've been fantastic. And you guys are going to be doing an open space right around the corner from us. So I really applaud the county for leading the way and kind of thinking creative and working with us as the community for new solutions for the issues that we want to solve. Years ago, you did the tiny home village. You were thinking out of the box. All I'm asking is let's learn from that, the lessons good and bad, and let's keep doing it. We need to do a lot more of them, a lot quicker, a lot cheaper. And we as a community want to partner with you and continue to. You guys are leading the way in helping think through these complex systems and working with us as a community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bolton.
Nancy Beers, followed by Khadijah Bottom.
Good evening, Commission. It's good to see you tonight. My name is Nancy Burse. I am a resident of La Mesa in the International District. And for some of you that may or may not know, the one who put forward the idea of the renaming of the International District in 2002. Took us a little while, but we got there. I want to say thank you, just as Mr. Bolton has, about the land banking that you're doing on the two properties for affordable housing at some point, we hope. And then, of course, in my neighborhood, the 317 Wyoming, that will be urban agriculture. I had a chance to be briefed by Mr. Barney and do appreciate that. That was very wonderful. And also put out the call to the people in La Mesa to say, have you been a part of this lately? Because we've kind of been behind the ball on some things organizationally when it comes to the neighborhood association and other pieces. So I wanted to say thank you. Everybody that I talked to in the neighborhood quickly this morning was most appreciative of it and says, go for it. And we look forward to partnering with you and getting that agricultural spot done. We have two other food items or community gardens that Mr. Bolton and others are aware of. So we hope we can invigorate those as well because they've kind of been slacking. We need to get our bees back. We used to sell our honey from our neighborhood. And if you're like me with allergies, it's always good to have local honey for your allergies. So we look forward to a lot of good things. And thank you very much. Perfect timing, right?
Thank you, Treasurer
Thank you.
Pierce.
Khadijah Bottom.
Good evening. My name is Khadijah Bottom. I'm the founder and executive director of a nonprofit organization in the International District. I reside in the International District. I've been there for about 20 years. 2 weeks ago, I am now the former president of South San Pedro Neighborhood Association. I just had to step down because my plate was truly running over. I guess the thing here tonight is that we are here to thank the commission for taking up and recognizing the needs of the International District and coming forth to help East Central Ministry. John wrote me into all this. Like I said, I've been there for 20 years. and I've been involved with various organizations and various things going on down there. And this is really, really the first time that I can say something is coming forth for the international district that will restore some kind of pride to the residents of that area. And hopefully, with the acquisitions of the various properties, we will be able to do transitional housing for our unsheltered neighbors. I work a lot with them. And I just want to say thank you, commissioners, the county manager, the staff of the county for looking out for us in the international district. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bottom.
We have one speaker signed up virtually, and that would be Ursula Gallegos.
Hello, my name is Ursula Gallegos. Thank you for hearing me today. As I've been listening to the previous meetings that you had, you've talked about housing and the importance of it. Well, I purchased a home in a planned unit development housing subdivision, and it had an HOA that was up and running. And now that the board of directors took over, they've claimed they dissolved it, and the HOA is now completely fallen apart. And I'm just wondering how that happens when our actual mortgage purchase contracts have PUD riders attached to them that state, a PUD rider that I researched, it states that homeowners belong to the homeowners association and the membership is mandatory. So according to all the research that I've done, this HOA should not be dissolved. Our landscaping is completely destroyed. The community, as it's a small community, is awful. The streets are cluttered. I've reported some houses to Bernalillo County, and they had the ordinance zoning, and they have tried to work with me, but this is just beyond understanding, and I'm wondering who I can get to help me with this.
Thank you, Ms. Gallegos. I'm not sure that I have an answer for you, but you can call into our offices. So thank you for speaking today.
Thank you.
And Madam Chair, that concludes public comment.
Thank you. Yes, Commissioner Barboa.
Yes, thank you. Just before, so our folks don't have to stay for the whole meeting, but we will be approving, or we'll be voting on these, hopefully in the positive tonight, for these purchases. But I just want to recognize that, Mike, I'm so blessed to live in a leader-full community. I walked into the commission with folks already on their own dime, on their own time, doing so much. Khadijah Bottom understates the work she's done. She sees African American and refugees coming in, provides community connections connected to the local community so folks can feel at home. She gets jobs for them in addition to the work that she does with Vision Sankofa to help feed and resource our unsheltered neighbors. In addition to the work she works with John Bolton and East Central Ministries to make sure we even have a proposal where we can walk into something like this idea for housing, affordable housing, not displacing our unsheltered neighbors, but actually finding safe places that they want to be and that the government is working to find solutions for. And all the other community members that aren't here tonight, and definitely Treasurer Burse, who's been a so long advocate for and fighting for our communities, creating in ways, again, so many leaders in the district that I get to represent, and I'm honored to represent. They're building it, and I'm just lucky to be able to support it and hopefully open doors. So I'm just incredibly thankful for all the leaders we have and that I get to, I'm honored to represent the work you all are doing and hopefully open doors for us. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. We move on to approval of minutes. I move approval of the May 14th, 2024 administrative meeting minutes. Do I have a second?
Second.
So moved and seconded. We'll have a roll call vote.
Commissioner Casada,
Aye.
Commissioner Barboa,
Aye.
Commissioner Benson,
Aye.
Vice Chair Olivas.
Yes.
Madam Chair Baca.
Aye. Thank you, that's approved. Madam Clerk, this is the approval of the consent agenda. Can you please provide resolution numbers for items 7E, 7G, and an ordinance number for 7C?
Yes, ma'am. 7C is ordinance 2024-12. E is FR 2024-56. G3 is FR 2024-57. And that's it.
Great, thank you so much. The consent agenda has been published and made available to the public. Therefore, I move approval of the consent agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Casada.
Aye.
Commissioner Barboa.
Aye.
Commissioner Benson.
Aye.
Vice Chair Olivas.
Yes.
Madam Chair Baca.
Aye.
So read.
Thank you. Move on to item 8, adoption of ordinance, an amendment to the county code. 8A is Parks and Recreation and Open Space. Proposed amendment to the Art and Public Places ordinance. Kent Swanson to present.
We're gonna boot up a PowerPoint presentation, so.
Okay. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the
Margarita.
Commission. My name is Margarita Chiveque, and thank you for the opportunity to present to you this evening. Before you is a motion to introduce and approve for publication amendments to Bernalillo County's Art and Public Places Ordinance from 1% to 1.5% for the arts.
So good evening, Madam Chair, Commissioners. Kent Swanson, Bernalillo County Public Art Project Coordinator. Bernalillo County's public art program was established in 1992 with the adoption of the county's Art and Public Places Ordinance enacted in 1992 and revised in 97. And just a quick question, are you able to see the presentations on your screen? Okay. All right.
I have called IT to come up and help switch the reader.
Okay, great. All right. So we'll continue with the presentation and hopefully we can get the visuals up momentarily. So again,
Oh, here we go.
Here we are. All right, thank you for your patience.
Oh, down here.
Oh, that's right. Which one? I gotta switch it up and change it. Which one I gotta change it to? Which number? Oh, okay. He's talking right here. Hold on. This took it off. Nope. Did it on my own strength. How to work on this.
There we go.
There we go.
We have visual.
All right, fantastic.
you.
Thank you so much. We'll take
you.
it from the top.
Oh, That's,
Okay.
that's what we wanted to start
That's-
with.
Yes, yes.
So,
Awesome, thank you so much. All right, so Bernalillo County's public art program was established in 1992 with the adoption of the county's Art in Public Places Ordinance, enacted in 92 and revised in 97. The program is funded by 1% of the county's general obligation bonds passed during the general election every 2 years. So these are just a few examples of the over 600 works of public art that can be found throughout the 5 districts of Bernalillo County. The intent of the Art in Public Places Ordinance is to promote and encourage public awareness of the visual arts and cultural properties and to integrate visual art into county facilities and structures. New Mexico State Statute 13-4A-4 NMSA 1978 directs that these funds are to be expended for the acquisition and installation of works of visual art to be placed in, upon, or around a new building or a building in which a major renovation is to occur. And the funding for the 1% for the arts is a formulaic addition to the voter-approved general obligation bond program. So this is an example of how that 1% is calculated. Throughout the history of the public art program, which again was created in 1992, the cost of materials for artists working in all media have increased and continue to increase since the passing of the ordinance. And here are several examples of recent projects where we've had to seek alternative funding from other sources to complete the projects to specifications. So why amend the public art ordinance? Increasing the formula for public art to 1.5% will provide additional funds to adjust for the rising costs of materials, labor, and artist fees. And additionally, the proposed amendment supports BERNCO's strategic plan goal of economic vitality by focusing on local culture and art. If approved, the amendment will have a positive impact on the county through increased economic development, beautification of public spaces, placemaking, enhancement of community and cultural identity, increasing cultural appreciation, and through arts education.
increasing arts funding to 1.5% would realign funding available for bonds approved by voters, whereas the amendment would shift funds from the construction phase to the completion phase of a capital project with the installation of public art. And Mr. Swanson and I have presented this proposal to the Bernalillo County Arts Board, as well as the county manager, all deputy county managers. And also the amendment has also been reviewed by the finance deputy county manager and the county's bond council for compliance of the tax exempt status of the county's bonds. Additionally, the finance team worked closely with the Parks, Recreation, and Open Space team throughout the process. The motion is to approve this proposal for publication, and should it be approved, the ordinance will be posted for the requisite 30 days and returned for final adoption here in June. If adopted, the revised rate of 1.5% would be effective, starting with the voter-approved November 2024 general obligation bond questions in accordance with the provisions of the ordinance. So thank you so much, and we stand for any questions.
Well, I'd just like to start by, I move approval. You do great work. It's been seconded by Commissioner Benson, and we love our public art. It's so important and a part of our what we are in Albuquerque and Bernalillo County. Any comments? Commissioner Olivas.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to start out by saying that I do support this, but I wanted to ask some questions about just the overall cost here and the quick math that I did here. So the one, we've got an upcoming bond issue that we are discussing and we'll be considering in June. It looks like the status quo would be about 400,000. I'm kind of rounding quick. I know that we don't put the library funds in there. So, let's say 400,000, that's just rounding it off to 40 million on the bond issue. And it would be 600,000 with the 1.5. Am I on the right track?
Yeah, we got a We got an example here for you. Kind of an example that we worked with your finance team. So, yeah, just around 600,000.
Okay, yeah, so the math was pretty close. And the only thing I wanted to point out, again, I'm still going to support this, but our housing funds that are in the current GEO bond are on the order of about 1.1 million, I want to say, that was the figure there. And so, you know, the public art piece that's coming off of the entire bond package is more than half of what we're putting into housing. And so, you know, we're saying that that is our biggest challenge as a community, and we're talking here tonight about some of these exciting housing projects that we're doing. And I just think it's not to knock art. I think this is important. I know it's needed. There's some great projects that have happened, some great projects that are happening soon. One in my district that I think is awesome. The Outpost project on 2nd Street is like, I have people that come in from out of town that talk about that. And I love to tell them, there's going to be one in the East Mountains soon. But I just think we've got to find a better way, a bigger way to fund housing. And I'm not trying to pick on art because it's important. But when we're putting over half of the amount of funds we're putting into housing, into public art, it's not knocking art. It says that we're not investing enough in housing. So I just want to make that point to my colleagues and to the community, to the staff, that, you know, it's something we've really got to work on. If we're saying that this is such a critical issue, we got to put our money where our mouth is. So thank you for your work.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Vice Chair Olivas, thank you for that.
Any other discussion? I'll call the vote. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Casada.
Aye.
Commissioner Barboa.
Aye.
Commissioner Benson.
Aye.
Vice Chair Olivas.
Yes.
Madam Chair Baca.
Aye.
So called.
Thank you for your work.
Thank you.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Item 8B, Technical Services, amendments to the Bernalillo County Water Wells Ordinance, Bernalillo County Code, Chapter 42.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Commissioners. Dan McGregor with Bernalillo County Natural Resources. What's before you tonight is a request for a reintroduction and republication of amendments to the county's water well ordinance. At the February 6th meeting, we had initially put on the agenda a version A, version B for discussion. That was deferred primarily because there were concerns about a limited well prohibition that was in version B. That was the primary cause for deferring the discussion on February 6th. Because of that, we have elected to come back with just version A. The majority of the amendments that were in version A were published on February 6th for public comment previously. The other things that have been added to that were various technical comments from the Office of the State Engineer. Those have been presented to you before. So what we are requesting tonight is that we do go ahead and reintroduce and put back out for publication essentially what was version A from last month's meeting. And with that, I'm happy to stand for any questions. Commissioner Benson, I will address, I know that one of your constituents, one of the water utilities called today. I was able to talk to them, and I think their concerns have been addressed with this as well. I just did want to reach out to you and let you know about that, since that was something that materialized today. So with that, happy to stand for any questions.
Any questions of Mr. McGregor?
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Benson.
Mr. McGregor, I just want to thank you. I don't have any questions. I am a well owner, and I have a lot of constituents who live on wells and rely on them for their water source, a lot of rural parts of the North Valley as well. So, yeah, I appreciate this ordinance, the way it's written, and support it. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Commissioner Barboa.
I wanted to thank you too for all the time you took to spend with me to educate me on the ins and outs of how all this works. Still got lots to learn, but I really appreciate the time. And I just want to mention, as I'm learning and public comment, I support this, but that, you know, I learned that through that, not anything to do with the county, but that wells aren't often regulated. There's no way to measure how much they're using. And as we grow, or specifically for rural communities, we got to think about how we start to measure that. Not that that's on you or the county alone, but I just want to, as we have public forum and I'm learning, love to mention those pieces that we want to be good stewards of our water.
Madam Chair, Commissioner, I've been doing this for 40 years and I still have a lot to learn. So thank you.
Is there a motion for approval?
I'll make a motion.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Or roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Casada. Commissioner Barboa.
Aye.
Commissioner Benson.
Aye.
Vice Chair Olivas.
Yes.
Madam Chair Baca.
Aye.
So called.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Commissioners.
Mr. McGregor. Thank you, Mr. Lopez. Move on to item 9, adoption of resolutions. 9A, county manager selection process amendments. As we all know, we need to hire a county manager. And I wanted to make a public statement that with all due diligence and transparency, we are doing 2 things. First, we are cooperating with the AG and we're providing their office with the requested information. And second, we are hitting the reset button on the search process, and therefore I have submitted an amended resolution tonight for discussion. And in the spirit of cooperation, I've offered that 2 additional members may be added to the search committee today. So with that, I move approval of this amended resolution that's been published and part of our packet. Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion or any amendments?
Yeah, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Benson.
Thank you. I think this is a good step in the right direction, but not enough. The Attorney General right now is investigating whether the initial resolution was legitimate. And so to make an amendment to that resolution is really not respecting the process. My recommendation is to start from scratch, to not amend the original, but to start from scratch with a just full, transparent process where each of the commissioners has a process in it. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, sir. Any other comments? Commissioner Barboa.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Barboa and then Commissioner Quesada.
Thank you. I just want to correct that both the investigation the AG investigation is about rolling quorum and not about the selection process. And I am excited for all government transparency and processes that are democrat and fair. And so I'm glad that that is happening. And I just want to thank you, Madam Chair, for your leadership in this. I think we've had now multiple proposals that have come before us. We've gotten to vote on those proposals. And I am grateful that you, without being required to do so, are actually allowing these amendments to happen so that we can move forward in the process to get one of the most important staff in our whole county, the county manager. So I just wanted to thank you and correct a little bit of what I heard. So thank you, Madam County Manager. Madam Chair.
Thank you,
And
Commissioner. Commissioner Quesada.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to have to agree with Commissioner Benson on the fact that if something does come back from the AG, and we also now have an internal investigation through our compliance office, that if it comes back that this resolution isn't valid, then we're going to have to start over anyway. I will say, though, that I do appreciate the amendment, although I don't feel still that it's equitable. I would like to see that each commissioner would appoint a person to this committee in the spirit of inclusion, equity, and transparency. That is what I think would show all of our constituents that we have equal amount of say-so in this one particular job that we have as commissioners. We're not voting on a project. Sometimes you get outvoted on that. We're not changing an ordinance. Sometimes you get outvoted on that. But the one job that we do have as commissioners and as elected officials is being within the whole process of hiring and firing a county manager. Would you feel that it would be equitable if we were going to fire a county manager that 3 commissioners would take that upon themselves without even really bringing it up and trying to figure out an equitable way of doing that? That is the one true job that we do have as commissioners. I know that there's been times people have been pointing out that that I lose votes sometimes, and I have, and I've done it with grace, but I have not done it when I felt that it was supposed to be inclusive of the county commissioner as a whole. And I really feel that if that is the step forward that we're moving to, then it should be done as we really do appoint other boards that we do as a commission. And I guess in the fairness of how we do other appointments, it would be cool, I guess, if we'd have one at-large appointment. So maybe that would be one appointment by each district, by each commissioner who felt that they're really representing the interest of that district. Doesn't mean that they have to live in that district. It just means it's somebody that I would trust that would have the I think the interest in my district as we move forward with the county manager. And then perhaps maybe an at-large appointment, since we do that. We do. Excuse me, I'm sorry. That we do that in some of our appointments, committees and boards. But that's just my statement, and I appreciate the time, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Benson.
I would, if this will pass, I would like to ask, I submitted 2 resumes because an additional 2 appointments is what we originally asked for. That request was referred to as similar to the insurrection of the Capitol, and but now that it's back on, submitted by you, I do appreciate that. But I submitted 2 names, and I'd like both names to be appointed to this this committee. One is the current county manager for Sandoval, Wayne Johnson. He was a former county commissioner. He did appoint 2 county managers well in this position and serves in the role of county manager, so understands that role as well. The other, while not as public of a figure, is Robert Doucette. He's my appointment to the ethics committee, to our ethics board for the county, and I think would provide a valuable perspective from that point as well. So I would like to make that amendment, Madam Chair.
I think that the order is each individual needs to be a separate amendment so that we can have a vote on each of those individuals, that resumes that we have received. So what we have on the table is first this amended, and it's been moved and seconded. So I guess what I will take is a friendly amendment of 1 at a time, because that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for and actually I think it's pretty important for us to have an odd number. A 7-member board makes sense to me in terms of getting this done. As we know, our county manager is leaving at the end of next month, very short time frame, and we really want this to move forward in a collaborative, good working way with this search committee, because it will have to obviously come back to the BCC for approval. That is our job. Our job is to appoint. This is a search committee, so I would ask that you, or anyone who has, and we have 3 resumes that have been submitted, so I would ask 1 at a time, and we'll do a separate vote on each of those additional members. So did you want to start with?
Yes, Madam
One?
Chair, and point of order, are we, can you explain the votes that we have in front of us?
So, and maybe our county attorney can help me with this, but what we have on the floor is the amended resolution with the technical changes that have been published. And so I'm opening it up to a second opportunity or for an amendment for additional members to that board. So Ken, maybe you can
Thank you.
clarify.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. We have in front of us a proposed amended resolution. So it's a proposal in front of you, subject to debate and amendment in an open meeting, and that's where we're at now. So that's the proposal. It's there to work off of. Right now, I believe there's a motion to add 2 additional names. I think the way that we would handle it, Robert's Rules of Order is, divide the question and vote on each separately. So I think that would probably be the next issue. If you want a formal vote on dividing the question, so we vote on one name at a time, we can do a vote on it, or we can take it based upon the presenter's preference, because I think you also stated a preference of priority of presentation. But I'll leave that up to the commission and the chair, how you want to proceed on that, and how do you get to the one name at a time on the proposed amended resolution.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Can I ask a point of order? So, County Attorney, are you saying that the first, potentially, if we split the vote up, the first vote would be whether or not we support adding 2 additional members? And then the second vote would be on who those members are? And then the third vote would be to add a third potential member?
That is basically up to the commission. I kind of took it in another manner, but I will defer to the commission. The way I understood it, you were offering to amend 2 names onto it. And if that's what you'd like to do, then you can divide the question so you can vote on each name separately. But if you, and it's up to the commission, how you want to proceed. You can split that question of 2 names presented and vote on them one at a time. You can have a vote to divide the question as a formal vote. Do we want to divide the question so we have names presented one at a time? Or we can have a vote, as you suggested, Commissioner, that is a vote on whether or not we want to present 2 names. I think that's how you stated it. What I heard was that you would like to present these 2 names to be added, and I think the chair was saying we would do them one at a time. And the Robert's Rule of Procedure motion for that is dividing the question. And you did state a priority on it, so that would be up to your choice on your priority and whether or not the question would be divided.
I defer to the chair.
So what I would say is that the amended resolution allows for 2 additional members. We have 3 proposed. So what we need to do is divide it and vote on each name. And when we get to those 2 with a majority, then we will have completion, and we would vote on the full resolution that's before us.
If that was a question to me, and I know you were looking at me with the resolution as proposed for amendment is up to debate. The amendment that's there is just a draft for folks to work off of. I'm not sure that the amendment says in it that how many members.
It does, it says 2.
Does it say 2?
It says 2 additional.
So then it would, that decision would be subject to debate and amendment, which is what we're doing now.
Right.
And so that the question about whether or not it's 2, if there's a motion on that, then that question would be presented. So we can do the names one at a time, or just get to the base question of whether or not it should remain at 2 or not. And either way, we're going to get kind of to the same place, but it's just important to be done in an open meeting, subject to debate and amendment. I hope that's helpful.
So a change to my amendment is to emphasize that I am proposing to add 2 additional names to this amended resolution. And so I ask for a vote on that clarification of that.
Thank you, Madam Chair. May I?
Yes.
So you're asking for a vote on adding two
Adding
additional?
two additional names to this amended resolution that's before us.
Thank you.
Has a motion been made?
Yeah, so I make that motion
I
for,
second.
to add two additional names. Any more discussion on that? All those in favor signify by saying aye with a roll call vote.
Commissioner Casada. Commissioner Barboa.
Yes.
Commissioner Benson.
No.
Vice Chair Olivas.
No.
Madam Chair Baca.
Yes. I did not hear that.
I didn't hear Commissioner Casada.
So it's a 2-2. Is Commissioner Casada, are you there?
Madam Chair, I need some clarification. I'm not understanding the vote right now.
The question
Can you hear
before
me?
you is whether you agree to add two additional names to the 5-member search committee in the amended resolution before us.
We're voting on the fact that I am going to submit my name to that.
We're voting on, excuse me, sorry, Commissioner, just to clarify, we're voting on whether we will add two additional names to the 5-member search committee.
Yes.
So that passes 3-2. So now we go back to the question of those additional members, and we call them one at a time. County
Yeah, I think,
Attorney?
Commissioner Benson had the floor. He raised a question. We went through some parliamentary discussion. Then he deferred to the chair. The chair made the motion to answer that parliamentary discussion. And I think the floor would go back to Commissioner Benson for his motion.
Madam Chair, thank you, County Manager, County Attorney. Madam Chair, I'd like to amend this process to add 3 members instead of 2. 1 additional. I make that motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. I'll call the question.
Commissioner Casada.
Yes.
Commissioner Barboa.
No.
Commissioner Benson.
Aye.
Vice Chair Olivas.
No.
Madam Chair Baca.
No. So we get back to the opportunity to add 2 names to this 5-member search committee. Commissioner Casada, did you have a name you wanted to add?
Yes. Bianca Encinas, I have submitted her resume and her name.
Do we have a second?
Second.
That's been moved and seconded. Discussion. All those in favor, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Casada.
Yes.
Commissioner Barboa.
Yes.
Commissioner Benson.
Aye.
Vice Chair Olivas.
No.
Madam Chair Baca.
Aye. So that passes, we have 1. Any other amendments?
I'd like to make a motion to add County Manager Wayne Johnson to the committee, Madam Chair.
Do we have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? We'll do a roll call vote.
Commissioner Casada.
Yes.
Commissioner Barboa.
Yes.
Commissioner Benson.
Yes.
Vice Chair Olivas.
No.
Madam Chair Baca.
Yes. We have our 2 members, and so I will call the question for the resolution, the amended resolution before us. We need a roll call vote as amended.
Commissioner Casada.
No.
Commissioner Barboa.
Yes.
Commissioner Benson.
No.
Vice Chair Olivas.
No.
Madam Chair Baca.
Yes. so that fails. So there we are. So we are back to that, that concludes this discussion, and we are back to the standing resolution that was passed last month, and we will move forward. Okay. Thank you. Item 9B, Capital Improvement Program. Kathy Corte, University of New Mexico Hospital Mill Levy.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, and Commissioners. I'm Kathy Court, Chief of Government Affairs. I'd like to also just make you aware that CEO from UNM Hospitals, Kate Becker, is with us tonight, as is Rodney McNeese, Senior Executive Director of Government Affairs. So they're in the audience, and just wanted to give them my thanks for being out here this evening. Before you today is a motion to approve a Memorandum of Understanding Agreement and Exhibits A and B between Bernalillo County and the Regents of the University of New Mexico, and to approve administrative resolution establishing ballot language for the November 2024 University of New Mexico Hospital Mill Levy. Pursuant to the Hospital Funding Act, Bernalillo County is statutorily obligated to provide a hospital. Bernalillo County and the University of New Mexico Hospital have updated a memorandum of understanding and prepared 2 accompanying exhibits for the operation and maintenance of UNMH, including the provision of health and mental health services to indigent residents of Bernalillo County. The Indian Health Service is also a consenting party. Collectively, these documents comprise and are referred to as the agreement in this agenda item. Every 8 years, the MOU is approved by the Board of County Commissioners and the UNM Board of Regents in conjunction with a hospital mill levy ballot question. Renewal of the mill levy needs to be on the 2024 general election ballot for voter consideration, and if passed, would extend the mill levy for an additional 8 years until 2032. The provision of a hospital is met via a voter-approved operational mill levy that provided to UNM hospitals $120,715,902.61 in FY23. A mill levy does require voter approval, which was last approved on the November 2016 ballot. Renewal of the mill levy is every 8 years and is set for this year again. The MOU that is presented to you has minor updates from the 2016 agreement. Those updates were made in the fall and early spring by county, UNMH, and IHS staff members as authorized by County Commission Administrative Resolution 2014-21. And the MOU was updated by incorporating comments made by the public, including our Native American community partners, at community listening sessions in 5 county commission districts in Bernalillo County and the Indian Pueblo Cultural Center. I stand for any questions, and my colleagues at UNMH are also here to assist if I need that help. So, thank you.
Any questions? Commissioner Barboa.
Thank you. I'm not quite sure what we're voting on this evening. I just think an 8-year process is a big thing, so I want to make sure I know what we're doing. And is this, what are we voting on tonight?
So you're actually voting on 2 items this evening. So every 8 years, we always update our MOU, the Memorandum of Understanding that basically sets the operating agreement between UNMH and Bernalillo County. We don't have any control over how they spend the mill levy monies that they are given through the mill levy, but UNMH does agree, and they do report to us every year the services they're providing in accordance to Exhibit A as part of MOU. As part of the MOU. So that's one vote, is to approve this memorandum of understanding to continue the relationship with UNM hospitals, but it's also contingent, obviously, on the money that they need in order to operate a county hospital. And so the second item before you is to approve ballot language that will go on the November 2024 general election ballot, and it will ask voters, will you support continuing this mill levy in order to provide for the operation and maintenance of UNM Hospital, which is our official county hospital and which Bernalillo County is statutorily obligated to support. So two motions before you today, and they always go hand in hand every 8 years. And so I've combined them, just as my predecessors have, into one agenda item for you.
Thank you, Ms. Kathy Court, for that information, very informational. I have a little, so I tried to look up the MOU. It's a very long document that I feel like I would need some help to get through. And I know in the last conversation, I was asking about opportunities to change about language, and you informed me that when we met a couple of weeks ago with UNM hospital staff, that the language is always the same on the ballot, which is totally understandable as well. But I just don't, I feel like moving in, and I also serve on the Bernalillo County UNMH Healthcare Task Force, that I would just like that opportunity to make sure we understand what's in the MOU. I think when we say, I think there's been a lot of changes in the last 8 years around indigent care funds, the legislature's provided, there's been healthcare, new movements in healthcare, including our health insurance exchange. And so I guess I just want to make sure that our community voices, specifically around the mill levy, are being heard and understood. And as I mentioned in our conversation we had before, there was a commitment in those listening sessions that we would be doing this in August. And I just don't feel, I think if community members were expecting that August date, that they might be not prepared or not even aware that this is happening. So I just asked my colleagues if there's an opportunity to defer this. I don't find myself in any opposition to it. UNMH is our premier research hospital, providing all the care to all our communities in my district. I'm thankful that it's in my district and serves our community with such care. And I see the struggles, get to hear from Kate Becker and folks all the time about the work. I just wanted to see if we could have some time to make sure for an 8-year agreement that we have some time to make sure that some community members are able to weigh in.
If I may add just
County
one.
manager wanted to
Go ahead,
make a statement.
Kathy.
Okay, I was just going to add that we started this process back in February of 2023. And if you recall, last year in February, we did present to you our plan for community engagement, community outreach, and that plan did include 5 commission district-sponsored listening sessions with our community. So we did do that. We did reach out and have a really great session with our Native American partners last year. We have done this a lot earlier. We did it all last year in order to work on the MOU and make sure that it's updated according to that public input. In the past, this has been on an August agenda item. It has been an August agenda item. I chose to push this up to June to ensure that we do not miss the clerk's statutorily obligated deadline in order to get this ballot language on the ballot. So I did want to make sure that we complied with the deadline. And if you choose to defer this item, and if you have the votes to defer for more discussion with our team and UNM Hospital's team, I leave that to the commission. That's absolutely fine. But this will be on the first agenda of the August meeting of this commission, and it really does need to be approved. And otherwise, UNM Hospitals risk losing up to $120 million in operating and maintenance for the next 8 years. So that's why I'm doing this early, so that if you do choose to defer this item, we have some time to try and alleviate any concerns you might have and get this on the very first agenda item of August when you come back from break.
County manager, did you have a comment?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. I was going to say exactly what you just did. And I also want to say that, under Kate Becker's leadership, she actually, there's an Office of Community Engagement now.
So I just want you all, commissioners and the public, to be assured that she has reached out to the community. She has done everything possible to reach out to the community. And along with those meetings with, in all the commission districts and the pueblos as well. So the Native Americans. So I think they've done an outstanding job with our staff and then with the community. We did receive input, and that did affect our MOU. And I believe the MOU is probably maybe a couple of pages, right, long.
It is, it's
not
in
that.
Exhibit A, that's a little bit long. It has all the
Yeah.
reporting mechanisms that UNMH will comply with. Exhibit A encompasses all that reporting that they'll be doing.
Right.
The memorandum of understanding itself isn't that long. I have it in front of me. But, and you know, in terms of minor updates, we changed things. Like since 2016, there's a new Native American Services Office at UNMH. In the 2016 agreement, we talked about Native American Services. Now they have a dedicated staff. And so we wanted to make sure that that is reflected in this current MOU. We have a new tower, a UNMH tower providing emergency services. In 2016, and I worked at UNMH in those years, the issue was emergency care and not enough facility space at the emergency center. We needed to do more local clinics throughout the county. Well, they're building a tower now. So we updated that to reflect that the emergency care services is going to expand because of the tower. So it was minor edits such as I'm saying now, but minor edits because things have changed, and they do have a community engagement committee, a team now, a department now. So we made minor changes to the current status of what UNMH has been doing in the community.
Commissioner Olivas, did you?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Ms. Cort. It's clear you are the expert in the room here, probably also including Ms. Becker and her staff on the MOU and the ballot language, and I appreciate you bringing this and doing so proactively, right, to anticipate if there is any questions or concerns or anything. So my concern, and I shared this in an email with our county manager and got a very prompt response from CEO Becker, which I really appreciate, is in regards to our not physicians, but the word is escaping me, resident physicians, doctors in training that are here to serve our state, serve our community, and are really the future, right, of our workforce in medicine. And we've heard many of those residents come before the commission here, sitting over here just a few months ago, I think it was. And I'm sure that we've all gotten emails and I was able to meet with them and talk to them about their concerns. And, I do respect that there's a fine line there. UNMH budget is, I believe it's over $1 billion a year just for the hospital, maybe double that. So this is a piece, a significant piece, but a piece of that budget. And so, I think I want to tread lightly and not insert myself somewhere where I don't necessarily belong or have the knowledge to do that. But what was concerning to me was that the issue raised before me was that there was a concerted effort by our residents to lobby at this legislative session on behalf of the university for themselves, essentially, for increased salaries that were basically at parity with regional peers, Arizona, Utah, Colorado, Texas, that kind of thing, which just really allows us to be competitive and allows our residents to have a living wage, frankly. I mean, they're not making the big bucks that the teaching fellows are making and the people that have been there for a long time. So, and the other thing that was raised here is one of the individuals in this meeting was from here and clearly just had a passion for our state, but shared with me that there were many of these residents that are not from here and experience that low wage and say, yeah, as soon as I can get out of here, I'm out of here. I don't want to stay because I can go make more money in Colorado. I can go make money somewhere else, feel more valued, feel respected, and get better pay as a physician. And so that's really concerning to me because, and I don't think this is something that UNMH is doing intentionally. I really feel for CEO Becker and her staff. The last time that she presented her operating report, this is like a $25 million a quarter loss. That's not sustainable, obviously. And, you know, she explained very eloquently the model using Medicaid reimbursements and Medicare reimbursements being a primarily, you know, a hospital relying on those sources, you're losing money on a lot of care. And so I get it. It's really a tough situation. But what I was presented with is that there was this lobbying effort made. It was included in HB2, and then that was not reflected at the bargaining table. And I don't want to get into the whole bargaining thing. I know how that works here at the county, and I can only imagine at the hospital with the docs and all that. But I'm just concerned. I'm concerned about this. CEO Becker did provide a good response, but I'm still a little confused. I'm not an expert on the state budget language. And to me, the language read like the money was there. It's 3-point-some million. So, you know, to me, it read like the HCA, the Healthcare Authority, is directed to provide this funding to UNM Hospital for teaching residents. And they're saying it wasn't included. And so it's a little bit of a, you know, she said, I'm unclear, and I really want to make sure, because this is a problem. It's not about UNM Hospital, it's about our entire system, right? Being able to attract medical professionals and retain them here, have people come here and have a great experience and say, I want to stay. I want to make a difference here. I want to contribute to this community. I want to be part of the solution and solve the problems, help solve the problems that we have. So, you know, it all flows downstream because it's going to affect our care campus. It's going to affect our rural providers. It affects everybody upstream, downstream, because it's such a large institution and such a large source of workers in this field. So I'm a little concerned about that. It does not affect my support for this because this is critical. I mean, we have to have this funding for our hospital. That is way too big of a risk to take. As big of the risk is of not compensating our physicians, this is an even bigger risk. So I'm not in that boat, but I just really want to get some answers on that language and understanding that and you know, having more conversations. So I don't know that I'm asking for a deferral at this point. I guess I would listen to my fellow commissioners, but I just wanted to raise that point publicly to you, to all that may be watching, and to our staff, that you know, we've got to do everything we can to support our physicians.
Thank you, Commissioner.
County Manager.
I was just gonna, if I may, I was just gonna say what you're raising is absolutely something most of us would agree with. I do think it's separate and distinct from the MOU in front of us here. And those are conversations we certainly can continue with UNM hospitals. And how can we as a county assist in that effort in retaining and luring young people into that profession. One thing I did want to add, and just for more information for you to consider, is because we're statutorily obligated to provide this support to Bernalillo County, if voters were to say no to this question, we would have to come up with the $120 million out of our general budget. So that's a huge risk too to consider, because we are statutorily obligated to do so. So just wanted to add that. Thank you.
County Manager.
Just real quick. So, no, Madam Chair, I think it would be great if, with your permission, if Kate Becker, the CEO of UNMH, could come up and just sort of speak about your concerns. Would that be okay? And thank you for your comments, Commissioner Olivas.
Thank you. And if I can, while Kate's making her way down. Thank you. My concerns are separate in no way. I think it's a little bit leading to talk about none of us are proposing that this doesn't go through. So I just want to make that clear. That's leading and assumptive. But my concerns, my issues are separate from Commissioner Olivas in that, you know, before I even became a county commissioner, I would always hear in community about mill levy, and transparency around mill levy. And when I got here, I was told, right, that we don't concern ourselves. We trust the hospital to move on its own. And again, I've received the best care. My family, my father, when he was dying, that we moved him from Presbyterian to UNMH because of the care that's provided at at our university hospital. So, and the fact, the research, all the things, I support it all. I just am concerned that we're in those listening sessions, which the one I attended, the one in my district, and there wasn't a direct conversation about, there was sort of just like, hey, what do y'all think about the hospital and what we should be doing? So there was conversations about having warming stations to people not having language access. I mean, it was broad, it was great. It was great to hear the community speak out on what they needed, but there wasn't facilitated conversation about the things that I continue to hear that folks want transparency on, like the indigent care funds. I've been knocking doors and I hear folks tell someone which I don't believe is true, but somebody at one of the doors was like, hey, they stopped that UNM Cares project. We can't get UNM Cares anymore. So like, I see your face. I didn't think it was true either. That's probably the face I had at the door. But for some reason, and in my district, so many people work at UNMH that live there. And so I just wouldn't be a good steward of my own constituents if I wasn't asking. And especially because in those meetings, we specifically talked about. So I think that folks might not be aware, and I brought this up a couple weeks ago. I do not mean in any way to not make this happen. I understand the importance of it. I want to make sure I know what it is, and if there is changes to either the ballot language or something we want to include in the MOU, I want to make sure folks have an opportunity to do that. I am definitely not the expert. I know that I support this and we need the funding. And I don't even know that I would support changes into the MOU. I just haven't had the opportunity to really understand the full MOU. And when we say that there's just the way that the ballot language has been and always been, I just know then why do we take it for a vote if it's just as it is and always has been? So I just want to make sure, because I haven't had the time to reach out to those concerned community members. Those are the concerns I'm hearing from constituents in my district. And so I want to say again, of course, I support the mill levy going to our public hospital. And I want to say, I would think that with the addition of the MDC, the indigent care funds, especially you mentioned mental health for indigent care for folks that can't afford care for themselves, like that is huge. And I think will probably exceed if we were able to be transparent about the type of indigent care funds we had. So those are my concerns. I haven't talked to anyone about this, but I don't think we're harming too much if we were to defer it to a next, knowing we have until August. And I just want folks to hear where I was coming from.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There's a variety of items here, so I'll try to be succinct in responding to them. I'm going to start with the physician recruitment and payment issue. So physician training happens in two buckets. There's undergraduate medical school, which is where you receive your MD degree, that's 4 years. And then there's residency training, which can last anywhere from 3 to 7 years. When you're in that 3 to 7 year training period, you have an MD degree, so you are a doctor, but you're not fully trained. You can't be licensed in any state. You can't be credentialed at any hospital because you're still a learner, right? So you're both in the function of being paid to spend your time working, and you're doing that work as a trainee while someone is mentoring you and training you in whatever your specialty would happen to be. The residents at UNM Hospital are members of a union, the Council on Interns and Residents, and so we do bargain with them, and I know you're aware of the rules about collective bargaining. We did reach an agreed to 5% wage increase in January, and that was implemented. So there is a lot of confusion around what the legislature did in January. The resident community advocated for a wage increase. Their original wage increase that they were seeking was the $3.4 million number. That would have been a 7.5% increase. The increase that we bargained and agreed to was the 5% increase. So that left them about $1 million less than what their original request was. The legislature did not put the $1 million in anything. They stuck with the original $3.4 million number. So there's a little bit of confusion to start with just on what the number is. The financing of Medicaid is a subject so complicated. There's probably only like 5 people in Washington, D.C. who really understand how it works. But there's a couple of key elements that every state official recognizes And those are, there is a state portion of Medicaid funding and there is a much bigger federal portion of Medicaid funding. So it's roughly 25% state, 75% federal. For base Medicaid payments and for payments for other hospitals, the state general fund provides that 25% and the federal government matches with the 75%. For UNM Hospital specifically, because of our unique role and because of the unique programs that we have, HSD, which was the state Medicaid agency, it's going to be HCA in July, created a directed payment program that the federal Medicaid agency, which is CMS, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, has to approve. So whenever a state asks for a different type of payment model, they have to request approval from CMS for that different type of model. We have a directed payment program that we work very closely with HSD on each year in terms of what the priorities of the state are. Behavioral health, for example, is a very big priority for them. So in this year's directed payment, we're doing inpatient screening of patients with substance use disorder and getting them connected to community services, because that's a really big project for us. That's called Caminos, that program. So anyway, so because the state folks know that 25-75 number, and because for the directed payment, UNM Hospital can do an intergovernmental transfer of that 25%. So the state doesn't pay anything out of the general fund. For that state portion of the Medicaid in the directed payment, the hospital pays it. There is a tendency in the legislature to think that all Medicaid funding could be drawn down that way, right? That the state wouldn't have to put in any money and we would still be able to come up with the federal match. Unfortunately, there are also federal restrictions on what the total amount of those type of directed payments can be, and we are at the maximum of the total amount of those directed payments, which we are extremely grateful for. We deeply appreciate the partnership that the state has had with us in building our directed payments, making sure that we are maximizing that federal funding that's available. But that was true in 2023. That was before the legislature ever thought, oh, hey, we've got an idea. Instead of putting money in from the state, we'll pull down federal funds and have it paid that way. So in House Bill 2, which is the language that I sent you, what the legislature, I think, intended was, oh, this is a way that we can direct this $3.4 million number, which wouldn't have been $3.4 million, because 25% of it would have been intergovernmental transfer. It would have been 75% of that number. But we can direct this without having to put any money in by calling it a Medicaid funding and telling HSD, oh, you have to put it in a directed payment, then have that be funded to the resident salaries. We're at the maximum of our directed payment. There's no other funding that can be put in there. CMS has to approve any change to the directed payment, and no request has been made to CMS by HSD or HCA to change the directed payment to reallocate that funding to that resident salaries and benefits. So from the hospital's perspective, there is no new money, and that's a really important point, because the perception of the residents is, oh, the legislature said, here's $3.4 million. There's actually no money there. There is a aspiration on the part of the legislature that HSD could create federal funding to pull down to cover that ask, if that makes sense. So the hospital is engaged in collective bargaining again with the residents, again seeking to implement a wage increase in July. We are committed to making this 50th percentile number, but there is not a fund that is funding that. It is part of the regular hospital operations and funding and budget. So hopefully that helps a little bit with that. It's a really, it's a very awkward position for the hospital, because we are deeply grateful to the legislature, to HSD, to the governor, to everybody who assists us in providing all of these supports. And we don't want to ever sound like, oh, well, we can't do that, because we always want to do what they are seeking to have us do. But there is no federal approval for the construct that the legislature put in HB 2 for this. So hopefully that helps a little. I know it's kind of, it might have made it more confusing.
No. Really, that was very, very helpful. I still have a very minimal understanding of it, but I think I understand what you're saying. And so, it sounds like the sort of best solution, if we could hope for best, easiest would be if the state just stepped up and put whatever the number is, 1.5 or 3.4 million into, general fund money into HSD for resident physician salaries, right? That would be like clean. The other thing that I think you're sort of alluding to is if the state put in a 25% match and then requested this change at the federal level, there's a possibility for that, but that requires federal approval. Am I on the
It
right
does
track?
require federal approval, and we are up against the top of the Medicaid directed payment
Oh,
number. So it
okay.
would require allocating dollars that currently go to other programs to this.
Okay, so really the best, kind of the only solution here that doesn't rob Peter to pay Paul is direct funding from the state general fund for residents, if that's something that we want to pursue. So I think that really answers my question, and I would just say, I know you all have great lobbyists, you have your own lobbying team, but I really hope that we can all team up as, commissioners, as county staff, and our county lobbyists with UNM and hopefully with the city and everybody, because this isn't just a city problem or a county problem, this is statewide, to actually ask the legislature, hey, this is great, we're really glad that you put this in here, but could we get you to change the funding source to make sure that it's general fund so that we can ensure that there's funding there to make our salaries for our resident physicians competitive. So I'm just suggesting that should be something we prioritize as a county to help support that effort because it's really important.
And I would just give you two small other data points on that, and then any other questions on that, and then I do want to address Commissioner Barboa's questions. The first one is, so residents are surveyed every year on why they choose the programs that they choose. It's a nationwide survey. It's done by the ACGME. Salary is the 10th on the list of 10 reasons why they choose the programs they choose. The top 5 reasons are the quality of the program, the quality of the faculty, the location. We have a great location here, so people like that. The facilities, it's things that relate to the program. It's not about the money because the money is not dramatically different, really, coast to coast. The other thing I would mention, well, actually, 2 more things. We have about 13,000 applicants a year for the about 200 spots that we have for residency. So just to have a little sense of pride that a lot of people do want to come here. And then the last thing I would mention is physicians stay because of physician salaries, right? Not resident salaries. And so one of the things we did put in the directed payment for calendar year 24 is $15 million to be allocated to the School of Medicine for physician salary increases. So hopefully that's helpful.
Commissioner Barboa, and then Commissioner Benson.
Thank you. That makes a lot of sense. I just want to make sure I'm clear. Are you saying that there was $0 in HB2 committed to? It was all under the expectation that we could pull down federal dollars?
Yes, ma'am.
Wow. Another reason why I keep saying when we lost Debbie Armstrong, we lost a lot of knowledge of healthcare in the house, and yeah, we need some of that profession back in our roundhouse. But the other, just to the point, I think, thank you for those last 2 points, because I think those make sense. And I think people want to come here, right? Because we are in any education place, this is a prime place, right? Where you are, and then now running the hospital, the public hospital, running the MDC, like people want to get in the hard work in their education. And I think they probably become really exceptional candidates for anywhere. And I think both, so I think it's a both and, that yes, the physician, they need to have physician pay that they can look forward to, but also that piece that they feel valued while they're here. So thank you for working hard to make that happen. If you can address my questions about that.
Madam Chair, Dr. Becker, do you mind if I ask another question about the physicians? Madam Chair?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Thank you. So in 2016, I sold a home health care business where we provided med-frag services. That's Medicaid reimbursement for medically fragile children. And we hadn't received an increase in that Medicaid reimbursement for over 13 years. Meanwhile, cost of living continued to go up for all of our nurses. So we had to grow and grow and use economies of scale. And so we eventually became the largest in the state. And even that point, it was too expensive. And so we sold to an out-of-state company. So now it's owned by a Boston firm and no longer a New Mexico firm. And we begged for increases to the reimbursement, and it just didn't happen. Thing is, I think it's still a Band-Aid to address the Medicaid, because the state needs to pony up. We've got the largest Medicaid population in the country, so they need to pony up. However, we also need to shrink that population by increasing employers. Part of the stress that the residents communicated to us was their workload. And my wife is a PA. Physicians are leaving the state. PAs are leaving the state. Nurses are leaving the state because the workload passes down. As physicians leave, the mid-levels are taking over. As they leave, the nurses are taking over. So the stress is everywhere. Meanwhile, our neighbor to the east, Texas, their physician population is growing faster than their residential population. Physicians are growing at a faster rate than the population of the state in Texas. But they also have a cap on how much the doctors can be sued. Ours has mushroomed. You do need better lobbyists to compete with the lawyers' lobbyists who spend, I don't know, you probably know the ratio. The legal lobby is 10 times larger than the physician lobby. So there's bigger issues. We need to fix this. If we can fix this, this will help your margins and everybody can get paid more. But if we can fix the employer population, if we can create employers in rural New Mexico that are providing quality insurance and they don't have to rely on Medicaid, then they're not having to come here into Albuquerque and overload you guys. So your response is awesome, and you do a great job of managing all of those. I just want to advocate for all the stuff that's outside of the Medicaid issue, and encourage us to lobby not just for Medicaid reimbursement, which I fully support, but also lobby for tort reform and job creation. So, thank you, Dr. Becker.
Let's get back to the Commissioner Barboa's question.
Okay, so just a couple of things. So the MOU from the 2016 mill levy really was a group effort by the Bernalillo County Healthcare Task Force, which of course you know because now you participate in that group, and a lot of community input to come up with what are the things that the hospital needs to report on to create that transparency. And so that's the report that you get every quarter with all of those things in it. That's what the MOU Exhibit A says. Put all these things in that report. So those kind of match up. So what you see in that report is the things on the list in Exhibit A. And that list came from an effort by the commission, the community, and the hospital to come up with a way to communicate what are we doing, right? But when I got here, which is 2018, there were a lot of questions exactly to your point about, well, what are you doing with the mill levy money specifically, right? So you'll notice in your report, kind of the back third of it is the 15% that's spent on behavioral health. And that lines out kind of what happens with behavioral health because that's specifically allocated. The rest of the money is for operations and maintenance of the hospital. That's what is in the Hospital Funding Act for Bernalillo County. And so we didn't really have that in the report in 2018. There wasn't really a way to kind of dig in and see that. And so what we did was working with both the LFC and the commission and the county manager, come up with a report that's that one page that you see that has the mill levy funding and then the mill levy expenses. And it lists all kinds of things that are related to operation and maintenance of the hospital, like, I don't know, environmental services and food services and like all of the things that go into running the hospital. It can't go for capital. We're not allowed to use it for capital, so you won't see that on that list. But that's why that is in there, is to really give some information. And so that report not only goes to you quarterly, it's posted on your website quarterly, it's posted on the hospital's website quarterly. That's a way that anyone in the community, any day that they want, can take a look and see, like, what is the operations and maintenance of the hospital? Like, what does that mean? What are the categories that goes into? And then they can look through the rest of the report for other information that they might want on how are we doing on meeting the commitment to 100 beds for our Native American patients, or whatever other questions they might have. So the Exhibit A, well, it can be a little overwhelming, really is the product of how do we try to provide more information. And so those are all the reports that you see. The MOU itself, so the 2016 MOU, again, was kind of a big, massive undertaking. And one of the underpinnings of that undertaking was, how do we know what's going on, right? How do we know what's happening in the hospital? And so the MOU was a good way to kind of describe, here's what we want to know. Here's the exhibits that are all the things we want you to tell us. And it still is a really good framework. It's been a really good framework for me reporting to you. It's been a really good framework for staff from IHS and the county and the hospital working together to update on various items. They meet every month. Then we collectively meet every quarter. Then I show up with you every quarter. So there's a really good infrastructure there. And so last year when we started looking at this, it didn't really seem like we needed a different infrastructure. It seemed like that was in a really good spot in terms of creating the information flow back and forth. So when we looked at what could we do or what needed to be changed, the things that are different in the new MOU, there aren't very many of them. And what we really focused on was cultural competency and really providing services in a way that was more culturally aware, particularly for our Native American patients, making sure that the new critical care tower, we're recognizing our Native American patients with the new Native American Health Services Office, a lot of work there. So to me, the MOU is sort of a foundation, but the work really happens every day, right? It doesn't happen in the MOU. It happens in the Office of Community Engagement. It happens in the Healthcare Task Force. It happens in financial services when we work with folks. And yes, UNM Care is still a thing every day. So I think from my perspective, the community connection, the outreach, and the transparency have really been a commitment we've had in the entire 6 years I've been here. And I think we've put a lot of thought and work into how do we continue that? How do we make sure that that goes on? Because, and I say this in new employee orientation just about every week, we have an obligation to be good stewards of the resources that the people of Bernalillo County entrust us with, right? They want healthcare, they want access, but they're entitled to know that what are we getting, right? And so our job is to be as efficient as we can. And so one of our big initiatives over the last year has been Right Care, which has been, are we getting access in our clinics so that people can get in and don't have to come to the emergency room? And is that access financially available? Is it culturally sensitive? Is it appropriate, right? In the hospital, are we having the right length of stay? Are people there as long as they need to be? Because we have specialized services that maybe you can't get anywhere else, but not longer than that. Because quite honestly, even though I work there and I love it, nobody really wants to be in the hospital. Nobody wakes up in the morning and goes, yay, I get to go to the hospital today. That's not a thing. So really having the right length of stay. And then when you leave the hospital, making sure that we have access through home health, through clinic care, so you don't come back, right? And we have like first in class low readmission rates. We are really good at making sure when you go home, you're ready to go home, and that you have the support that you need. But we're working really hard on enhancing and expanding that. So I would just say that I think the job we're here to do, we're doing. Your confidence in us is really important, and your assurance that we are being good stewards of those funds is really important. And then I would say one last thing on the ballot language. Ballot language for a mill levy, it's all the same. It doesn't matter what, like you fill in the blank with what you're supporting. It says either start or continue a mill levy of X amount to support X. So that one, I really wouldn't worry a lot about, because there's not a lot of variation you can put in it. You're either starting it if it's a new one, or you're continuing it if it's an existing one, and it says the number of mills and it says what it's going for. So hopefully that's a little helpful. Sorry.
Madam Chair.
That was kind of
I
long.
can just respond real quick.
Yeah,
Oh,
Michelle,
okay.
after you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Kate Becker. I just wanted to say thank you. You're always, I feel you're brilliant. I trust your leadership so strongly, and so thank you, and thank you for that detailed explanation. Fully understood. I just wanted before, and of course, Commissioner Benson, but maybe that there could be we could split these two. I feel confident in sharing the ballot language, and I honestly don't have any anything to say about the MOU. I am worried that my community, like I said, I feel like everybody that works at UNM might live in my district because that's all I hear from. And they have asked for transparency on the mill levy. So I just worry that because we said in those community discussions that we would be voting on this in August, that they might be unaware that this is happening now, and that might be a room. So not that I want to prolong it even to August. Those are my two thoughts, and I understand. I want to be supportive. I don't want to cause any room for doubt or suspicion. I just also have to represent what my community has been asking.
Commissioner Benson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't know what the turnout has been in your community meetings, but I want to thank you for you personally showing up at each community meeting. You've been there late into the night in my district with me, answering any questions. And any questions that I felt weren't asked, I was able to ask, and you took all of them as well as your staff. So that's a possibility to have more of that, because you do a great job of communicating the ins and outs of details that say, constituents just have concerns, understandably, because it's so complicated. And you do a really good job of boiling it down to simple concepts that anybody can understand. So thank you for, you give everything to this job, and including meeting my constituents in their own community centers. So maybe more of that, especially for this mill levy language, would help. You might get overwhelmed in Commissioner Barboa's district, because they probably do all live down there, but yeah, it's probably I've just been so impressed at our community meetings, so it's just a comment.
Well, thanks, you're very kind. And we have an awesome community engagement team, so they're always out there doing all kinds of things, so thank you.
Did you have something? Commissioner Barboa?
I just move, I don't know if I'm saying it right, but I would like to move to separate the two items, or maybe if I move on a vote for item 9B2 pass, and that we look at these as two separate items.
My concern is, I don't think that you want to defer the first item and approve the ballot language, because if you're deferring the first item, if there's a change that affects the ballot language, that may be a concern, and I think that's why the two have been brought forward together.
I think what I heard from Ms. Kate Becker and the last time was that the ballot language will remain the same. It's the content within the large MOU that may need a adjustment. And so I don't. This is a hard one.
Well, I
Yeah.
was just,
Yeah.
I was gonna second that. I could support both of these tonight. I'm comfortable with it. But I think if there's a desire to have some more time with that MOU, I totally respect that. But I do think that we should send the strong signal that this commission supports the funding for University Hospital, period. And if we want to have further conversations on the MOU, yeah, what I heard, maybe I misheard, but what I heard is that language is really not going to change. It's X and Y.
Yeah.
There's really nothing there that's going to change.
Might I just add one other piece of information? So the UNM Hospital Board of Trustees voted to approve the MOU last week, and the Board of Regents will be voting on it on Thursday. So if this commission doesn't approve it tonight and then makes changes to it, the Board of Regents doesn't meet again until August after you meet. So it'll put us in a little bit of a tricky timing situation. And it's just tricky because you have two different entities holding two different board meetings. So the timing is just a little tricky. But just so you know, the Hospital Board of Trustees has approved it, and the Board of Regents is hearing it on Thursday.
I'm gonna suggest something here. I'm not hearing anybody opposing this necessarily, but you're talking about communicating with your public, and I've heard Commissioner Benson saying, you do such an excellent job. Could you do yet another public outreach? I know you did it at the International Library to explain, even, even if we were to approve this tonight and move it forward, do that additional in good faith explanation in your community so that they hear from us again. Is that an option?
I would be thrilled to do that. And I would also say that, I'm not saying trust me, but I am saying, I think the hospital has demonstrated that if concerns are brought forward from the community, that we respond and that we try to revise. Like the patient financial assistance is a really good example, working with the Center for Law and Poverty on the language and our scripting and even which kind of Spanish we're using in that conversation. So you certainly have the hospital's commitment that whatever we hear in another listening session, we will act on.
Okay, that feels really good. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. I will remove my request to separate
Madam
the
Chair?
issues.
Is that Commissioner Casada?
Yeah, I'll just move for approval.
Second.
Well, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? And I guess with that caveat that we trust you to reach out to the community again this summer. That'd be great.
Yes, ma'am, I actually work for you, so.
I will help bring that together to make sure that my community has come to me as addressed, issues are addressed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? So we will do a roll call vote. Call for the vote, please.
Commissioner Casada.
Aye.
Commissioner Barboa.
Yes.
Commissioner Benson.
Aye.
Vice Chair Olivas.
Yes.
Madam Chair Baca.
Aye.
So called.
And thank you for that robust
And I
discussion.
just
We
want to
really
say,
appreciate
we
it.
did not call each other today. We didn't do that. We just showed up twinsies today, so thank you very much.
Very, very springy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, excuse me, for the record, can we please have the resolution number for that item?
Oh, I apologize, Madam Clerk. Can you issue the resolution number?
Yes, I should have caught that. AR 2024-58. Thank you, Angela.
Thank you, Angela. And that's approved. Item 10, approvals, finance, award approval project for the urban agriculture property purchase site development.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of Commission. I'm Jenny Haken, the Senior Financial Analyst for the Finance Division. I'm here to present an ARPA agenda item to request approval of $400,000 of ARPA funding to enable Bernalillo County to execute a real estate purchase agreement for urban agriculture in the densest zip code in the state of New Mexico. The identified tract of land is 0.528 acres in the International District located at 317 Wyoming Northeast. The total amount of the acquisition is $345,000 plus closing costs split between the parties. Any remaining funds will be used for design and related site work. The land acquisition is expected to close in the May or June timeframe of 2024. Additionally, funding for this project includes a 2024 New Mexico legislative grant. So the motion's before you. Well, I stand for any questions, I guess, first.
Any questions, comment? Commissioner Barboa.
I just want to comment, Jenny, you look so wonderful today.
Thank you.
And I think you're glowing because you're bringing such wonderfulness to a much needed area. And I'm just proud, as you know, you heard the public comments before. And this was really, I just want to make sure to also give credit that this is really a community-driven solution that then the county was able to meet with such expediency and knowledge so that, it's proven by fact and research that when we increase open space and opportunities for people getting their hands in the soil and learning how to grow and education around agriculture, that those things alone, just by doing that, we increase the quality of life, we increase mental health, situations. It's proven that literally putting your hands in soil makes your mental health better. And so this move by the county, hopefully with the approval of our commission, really in the most densely, thank you for mentioning, it's the most densely populated area in our whole entire state, that we can see differences through all approaches necessary, right? So we're moving to increase the quality of life and mental health and hopefully decrease the violence and increase the feeling of safety in our neighborhoods. And in what I always get to hear about how the majority of police calls and emergency calls are to my district. Well, this is a small start but I believe will provide such a ripple effect across the community. So thank you for presenting this today. Thank you for all the staff that worked on this to make it happen with such a short time frame and using these federal dollars to go towards really improving quality of life in our community. So thank you.
Absolutely. And I can read the motions if,
I'd like to move to approve.
okay.
Second.
That's been moved and seconded. All
All
those in
right, then.
favor, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Casada,
Aye.
Commissioner Barboa,
Aye.
Commissioner Benson,
Aye.
Vice Chair Olivas.
Yes.
Madam Chair Baca.
Aye.
So called.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Approval item B, Human Resources. Collective bargaining agreement between the county and the Bernalillo County Deputy Sheriff's Association.
Good evening, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Bernadette Pettis, I'm the HR Director here at the county. Human Resources is seeking Commission approval of the negotiated changes to the Bernalillo County Deputy Sheriff's Association, or BCDSA, Collective Bargaining Agreement. Negotiations between Bernalillo County and BCDSA commenced on April 10th, 2024, reaching a tentative agreement. The union ratified the contract with a majority of votes on or before April 27th of 2024, and this contract is for 1 year period expiring on June 30 of 2025. I would like to highlight the changes in Article 25. So wages are being increased by 10% for the deputy second class, the deputy first class, the sergeants, and the lieutenants. This wage increase puts Bernalillo County in a position to be competitive with other law enforcement entities and is critical to ensure retention of our sworn personnel. I would like to thank the county manager, the Bernalillo County negotiating team, and the BCDSA union negotiating team members for their collaboration in reaching this agreement. And I'm not certain if there is someone here from BCDSA in attendance that would like to say something. Yes, come on down.
They're here in
You have a
force.
whole team. Yes. I wonder.
Hello, Commissioners. I'm Samuel Rodriguez. I'm a sergeant with the Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office, and I'm also the president of the Bernalillo County Deputy Sheriff's Association. I just wanted to give some context of what's going on in law enforcement across the country, where right now, and we're what I am referring to as a recruiting and retention crisis. We're seeing more people retire, more people leaving the profession, and we're seeing less people coming in. And as a result, it's a supply and demand where public safety is the priority for every government. However, we're having a hard time staffing. To give some context, across the country, right around, I think it's right around 83% is the rejection rate for law enforcement. So out of 100 people, 83 of them will be rejected. For your sheriff's office, it's right around 93%. And the reason why it's higher is we hold ourselves to higher standards, we have harder training, and we have harder entry exams as well. However, the product is better constitutional policing, which is something that we excel at. I truly believe that we are the most squared away sheriff's office, law enforcement agency in the state of New Mexico. I challenge anybody from state police or PD to come up here and debate that with me. We're very fortunate right now because we have a union and a union leadership that's slow to speak, quick to listen. We have a sheriff who's one of the best sheriffs we've ever had in the sheriff's office. He listens to us, he backs us, and we love to follow him. And we have a county management who supports public safety and makes it a priority. That's you guys. Thank you very much. And you staff the county with excellent staff. We have a Bernadette, we have a Shirley, and we have a county manager. I really, out of all of that, I would like to give honor where honor's due and really say thank you to the county manager for your years of service. From one public servant to another, you set the bar very high, and you are a pillar of excellence for leadership and servant-style leadership. So thank you. You'll be missed, and you have some very big shoes to fill. We have accomplished a lot to serve the community, our members, and their families. And I just wanted to open up if there's anybody else from my board who'd like to say anything.
Sorry, I'm kind of losing my voice. Echo everything Sam said, but I just want to point something out, that when I was the president about 2.5, 3 years ago, I couldn't have felt more supported by the commission at the time, but particularly I really want to recognize the county manager. I think that her leadership ability, in my opinion, is based on two things: fairness and family. It was apparent that any time that she wasn't available for us, I think she was with her family. I think those are two great qualities for a leader in her position: fair to the county, fair to the employees, and putting her family first. When I heard that she was leaving, my heart broke a little bit, but I realized that she'll be able to spend more time with her family, so I'm grateful for her to be able to do that. And I love her for everything that she's done for us. I hope, and I believe that it will be, and I hope that the next county manager will treat us the same. So thank you very much for everything you've done for us. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Hello, my name is Santiago Roybal. I'm a lieutenant with the Sheriff's Office. And just to give a little bit of perspective to how difficult it is to get recruits. And this raise and the last one has helped us significantly. It keeps us competitive against APD and state police, who are our biggest competitors. 19 years ago, I'm an old man. When I went through the academy, we'd have about 50 applicants per test date. Now we get about 7, and that's on a good day. And of those 7, several times people don't pass. So the amount of interest in law enforcement has changed over the years, and the Sheriff's Office will never lower our standards. So we'll always hold ourselves to the highest level possible within the state and nationally, actually, as well. So we appreciate it very much when you guys are so generous with us, because it keeps us competitive. We can sell our agency all day long, but if we don't have the money to back it, we're not going to get people that are planning their next 25 years of their life, building families, building their career. So thank you very much. If this passes, it is very helpful to us, especially me as the recruiting lieutenant. So thank you very much.
I would just like to say to all of you and Bernadette, thank you all for your work. I particularly, Mr. Rodriguez, talking about your constitutional policing is so important to us in our community. And I think you know from last year's budget and this year's that this commission supports our sheriff's office, and we are with you. So thank you for being there for us.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Benson.
Thank you all. You guys are there for all of us, whether we're nice to you or not, whether we like you or not, and you have our community's best interests in mind. You put your lives at risk. You serve, and you have all of our backs, and we've got your backs. And thank you guys. And I want to thank you guys for recognizing how amazing this lady is. I couldn't say it better myself, and I ditto everything you said. Massive shoes to fill, and I was heartbroken when I heard it too.
First, Commissioner Olivas, and then County Manager.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to thank you all so much for just the amazing partnership that I heard today, talking about how you worked with our HR staff, with our county manager, with this commission, with the sheriff. I just think that's an amazing thing in any workforce. It speaks to the culture here at the county, the culture from the county administration, from the sheriff's administration, and within your agency. And that's the reason why I think you absolutely are the premier law enforcement agency in the state. I'm just so proud to be along for the ride, frankly, because you guys are the ones that are carrying that load, that are fighting the good fight, and really putting, as Commissioner Benson said, putting your lives on the line for our constituents and for our community. And yet you're here with a smile, and you're here with that passion. And that's why I know that's why you do this work. And I'm just so humbled to be able to support you tonight, and support the future of law enforcement, so that we can continue to recruit the best and the brightest and remain the premier law enforcement agency in the state. So thank you.
County Manager.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to thank you all. It's been my pleasure and my privilege to work with you. You have been amazing professionals in every step of the union negotiations. I don't believe there's ever been like any issues, anything that we couldn't conquer together. We worked together. And we are a family. You all will always be part of my family. And I want to tell you, I live in the county, and I know the work that you do, and I see what you do. And I'm proud to play a little part of it and to be the county manager, working with you. So I just want to thank you all, and I'm really, I'm sad too, but you know what? I know that we're in good hands with our commission, with all the great staff, and with you all, with the Sheriff's Department, to keep us all safe, our community safe. So thank you all very much.
And with that, I will move approval. Do I have a
Second.
second? It's been moved and seconded by Commissioner Benson. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Casada. Commissioner Barboa.
Yes.
Commissioner Benson.
Aye.
Vice Chair Olivas.
Yes.
Madam Chair Baca.
Aye.
Congratulations.
Item 11, discussion, Parks, Recreation, and Open Space. An open space update. Mari Simbana.
Madam Chair, members of the Commission, good evening. Mari Simbana, Bernalillo County Open Space. And while I'm looking for my presentation, I just want to thank you for the opportunity to serve the community in this way. So let's see what we have today. Maybe, there we go. So as most of you know, or hope all of you know, November 2014, nearly 73% of voters approved the county to establish a mill levy for 15 years for the purpose of acquiring, improving, operating, and maintaining natural areas, open spaces, and cultural and historic and nature education sites within our county, to protect drinking water sources, wildlife habitat, and agricultural land, including along the Rio Grande, and of course to allow children and families to get outdoors in nature. So what we do is expand access to open space sites. We improve educational opportunities to reach more people and steward natural, cultural, and historic resources. I think sometimes people think we just do trails or, picnic tables, but we go much deeper than that, and we really cherish the properties that we have. And we do this by offering around 50 programs, activities, and events annually, and some of those programs are multi-month programs. We dedicate land management crews to care for and maintain almost 1,200 acres. And we partner with agencies and organizations to educate and connect with the public. We offer a variety of opportunities for engagement through our annual programming, from hands-on internships to fun presentations and sometimes serious presentations. We cover many topics. I won't read through this whole list, but a lot of our programming happens from March through November. And we are in our season now. One of the areas that we've been emerging in is our agricultural education and stewardship work. So I just want to highlight this a little bit today because you probably don't know as much about it as our other programs. And our vibrant and growing initiative is called Cultivating Bernalillo County. It actually launched in 2015. It encompasses agricultural land stewardship, the need for more green spaces, growing and producing food locally, promoting food and agricultural business development, and community wellness, of course. Currently, Open Space manages approximately 240 acres of agricultural land. Beyond caring for these natural resources, these properties are culturally and historically significant. Our work also includes providing agriculturally related programs to the public. This, of course, is important for many reasons, but really significantly, we have a heritage of agriculture. So wherever someone's from, whether they were their family's been here for generations or they're new, I think that is still something that's really appreciated and it's unique to our community And I really believe we are, as a county, upholding that. Because we know in the past several years that changes in county zoning and economic development and public works have contributed to the accomplishment of cultivating Bernalillo County Initiative through various objectives. And I look forward to presenting this in detail, in further detail to you later in the year. I do want to highlight some of the programs. There's quite a few, and I think everybody here tonight can appreciate how many staff it takes just to install a bench in open space, let alone create and plan for the infrastructure on site. So I thank all of you for the various districts you work in and all the support you've given us. So one of these is the Atrisco hacia que Madre Phase 1 design. That was District 1. That's a great partnership with City of Albuquerque, MRGCD, and the Albuquerque-Bernalillo County Water Utility Authority to establish a site for acequia education. We also have the Gutierrez Hubble Open Space. That's a 16-acre site, which you're all very familiar with, but we were able to upgrade a building allowing more staff, offices, and a classroom site, which is very well used every day right now. We had a ribbon cutting for Marble Open Space, which is our first urban ag open space and an anchor of our urban ag program. And today, thank you for your support of the new purchase for the property on Wyoming to add to that effort. We also have the Jones Agricultural Conservation Easement. This is pretty new, and that's in District 4. That, of course, is carrying us forward in the goal of protecting green spaces in our community. And a big one, Carlito Phase 2 completion, huge. People called every day when it was closed. So we celebrated that reopening. And we have great infrastructure, and the house is beautiful. Please visit it if you haven't. Budget. Thank you for supporting this budget. In 2016, the mill levy disposition policy and resolution, or per this, open space funds were divided into acquisition funds and funds for maintenance, programming, and improving properties. Beginning in 2016, the amount for the acquisition was set by the Finance Division for approximately $1.35 million. As you know, we've made some acquisitions, but we also needed to care for these properties that we have and manage them for the long term. So starting in 2023, we shifted that annual acquisition cost to $675,000, and the other funding is used for maintenance, operation, planning, caring for our properties. And in 2026, we will be knocking on your door. We'll begin campaigning toward the next mill levy approval. So I want to get that on your radar. Of course, we don't do this alone. We have collaborations with key partners. We have collaborations with government collaborators, as well as organization and community support. You know, some neighborhood associations, other smaller organizations, and some larger organizations. So we're very, very lucky to have that. So again, thank you so much for all of your continued support. We know that we need to provide opportunities to our community, which brings individuals to experience open space lands, to connect. We're creating future stewards, whatever age that is. And I think we are responsible, and we're standing up to the responsibility of nurturing and managing these lands for our community. With that, I stand for questions.
I'd like to start real quick, Mari. Thank you so much for the presentation. And open space is near and dear to my heart. So I truly believe that this is an extremely important part and function of what we do in Bernalillo County. We talked about the comp plan earlier today. This is a result of the vision of a comprehensive plan and the importance of protecting our natural and cultural and agricultural resources. So thank you. I would like you to send this to me. I looked in the packet and I didn't have this presentation, so I just love the presentation. And my question, my last question is, what do we have remaining in the coffers for acquisition? Do you have a balance that you know that we have for acquisition?
Madam Chair, members of the commission, we do have some planned use of that purchase, but I'm going to maybe ask Mr. Barney to help us with that since.
Approximately 1.3 million.
1.3 million for acquisition.
There's about 200,000 that's going to go towards conservation easements that we have in process, plus some planning efforts, including Steel Ridge, which Commissioner Olivas knows about. So it'll be about 1.1, I think, that's available after those are encumbered.
Thank you. Any other questions? Commissioner Olivas.
Thank you. I really appreciate the presentation and so excited just about all these beautiful places and spaces and the really well-rounded mission, everything from the agricultural heritage in the valley to some, great hiking and equestrian trails out in my district. And really it's just kind of a comment, and John led into it, so thank you. By mentioning Cedillo Ridge, I keep harping on that. It's our largest open space. It's a beautiful space, and really, just want to continue to work on getting that space open and accessible. I know it's challenging, and I know y'all are putting your minds together, but it's just such a beautiful space, and there's so much opportunity there for collaboration because there's city land, there's Forest Service land, there's a lot going on there, and I would just love to see that opened to the public where people can ride their horses there, go hiking there, and enjoy that beautiful space that the county's owned since 2002, I think it was. And so, I just want to say that I want to continue to support your mission on that, and I'll look forward to getting another kind of update from you in the near future just to see where things are at and how we move forward.
Thank you. Any other? Commissioner Barboa.
Just wanted to respond to Commissioner Olivas, Madam Chair. So the PO is in process with our consultants. They're going to actually be starting the resource inventory over the next couple months. So, but we're happy to come, of course, and fill you in on more of the details. So.
That's fantastic news. I appreciate it.
And thank you for supporting our increased staffing, because that's how we can get some of this done.
Yes. Commissioner Barboa.
Yes, thank you. I just want to recognize everybody in the department that works on this, and I have all the admiration for Mr. John Barney and Miss Marisa. I've got to say, I think so much is hidden and too little time to say all the things you do, but I got to be there when you had this group of young people working, cleaning, developing land, and working with the dirt and cleaning up the neighborhoods. Your way of thinking and working with community is just so appreciative. I think you're growing, just in the way you move, are growing a whole leadership that we can count on in the future of young people being involved in their county and government projects and appreciating spaces and partnering with Together for Brothers and all the community groups that you do. I just want to recognize you and John Barney and your whole department team's work for just really engaging our community and making Burn Co. beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Barboa.
Thank you, Mari. Appreciate you all. Thank you, John. Okay. Announcement of our next commission meeting, Tuesday, May 28th, 2024, Board of Finance at 4 p.m. here in the commission chambers. And then also Tuesday, May 28th, administrative meeting at 5 p.m. here in the commission chambers. And this meeting is adjourned.
We'll see.